Hey guys, Mr. Overon here with Mr. Overon's Tarot Reading Services, and today I'm going to talk to you all about a book that has really come to mean a lot to me. Um, 20 years ago, when this book first came into my life, I had just started college, and I was like, I don't want to go to school or whatever because I hated high school, and I thought, I hate high school so much, why would I then turn around and voluntarily go to school? But it's a huge, complete different thing than high school. Anyways, once I was admitted into college, I learned that there was so much more than just English, math, history, and, the common core type of education. So one of the things that I really got interested in was spirituality. At that point in my life, I had already been practicing and had maintained several covens throughout the years, and just already had my occultic knowledge foundation. So when I started learning about other spiritualities and anthropology and stuff like that, I got really drawn in, and my eyes were open to just other forms of divination that weren't considered occultic, and actually had an entire religious practice built around them. Taoism, or Taoism, however you want to say it, is actually what I'm going to be talking about today. I know that it's not exactly witchcraft oriented or wicca oriented, but this book right here, hopefully it's coming through. There you are. The Tao Te Ching, or the Tao Te Ching. This book here is so freaking amazing. It kind of reads like Confucius's stereo instructions, but if you can give yourself the time to get through it and analyze each section of it, and have the foresight to be able to do so, you actually can glean a lot of information from it. And it's not only it's not a spiritual practice, as it were. It's more about focusing on yourself and learning how to do things without needing that glory and that recognition, and to be able to do, like, if you want to be the master of everyone, master yourself first type situation. So, like, one of the excerpts I have here is, do you want to improve the world? I don't think it can be done. The world is sacred. It can't be improved. If you tamper with it, you'll ruin it. If you treat it like an object, you'll lose it. There's a time for being ahead, a time for being behind, a time for being in motion, a time for being at rest, a time for being vigorous, a time for being exhausted, a time for being safe, a time for being in danger. The master sees things as they are without trying to control them. She learns them. She lets them go their own way, and she resides at the center of the circle. Whoever relies on the Tao in governing men doesn't try to force issues or defeat enemies by force of arms. For every force there is a counterforce. Violence, even well-intentioned, always rebounds upon itself. The master does his job and then stops. He understands that the universe is forever out of control, and that trying to dominate events go against the current of the Tao. Because he believes in himself, he does not try to convince others. Because he is content with himself, he does not need the approval of others. Because he accepts himself, the whole world accepts him. So, it kind of speaks on, in circles. So, it's saying, have these ambitions, but don't have the ambitions to have the ambitions, if that makes absolutely any sense. Basically, it's just saying, there's ways of doing without doing. Learning that constant flow, that equivalent exchange. If you do this, then expect this to happen. If you expect this, then this is going to happen. Just a really amazing book. I've downloaded the app onto my phone. It's similar in nature, just a little bit of the wording's different. There are hundreds, if not thousands, of different variations of this book. This book is the New English version, Tao Te Ching, by Stephen Mitchell. And it's by Harper Perennial. And, this book has been to hell and back. I've had it in... This particular book here, I've had for 12 years now. The one that I had originally was a little bit taller, like a pamphlet size. And, it's ancient wisdom that could be applied to everyday modern society. And there's so many, books out there talking about self-help techniques, meditative techniques, what to do if you're feeling like this, what to do if you want this to happen. The Secret was a huge book there for a while, which I don't understand why. I think that the book The Secret is absolute garbage, created for lonely housewives trying to seek validation in an otherwise humdrum world, but that's just my personal thought on it. Most self-help books all kind of feed on each other. And this was written by a monk who locked themselves away in a cave for 20-something years. And when they emerged, they had written this manuscript. And just a beautiful piece of literature that doesn't get enough recognition. It's one of those books that I always keep on my shelf, and it's the first book that I reach for to give as a gift. I have several books that I consistently gift. This is just one of them. The other book is Drawing Down the Moon by Margaret Adler, and the 19th edition of The Spiral Dance by Starhawk. If you're not familiar with Starhawk, every few years she goes through and takes her flagship book, The Spiral Dance, and completely rewrites it, adds stuff, deducts stuff, and patches it all back up and puts it back out for resale. When I was introduced to Starhawk, I think it was the 19th or 19th rendition of the book. And I've had several newer renditions, and I find that the older one is the best. And I'm not even sure if I have it where I can just pull it really quickly. Let me go check the library. Ah, I do. It would be unlike me not to have this book. So this is completely not the direction that I wanted this video to go, but it feels like this is the right direction to go. So, this is the 10th anniversary revised edition. So this is the one. I like this edition better than most of the others that are out on publication. The 9th, the editions going down from this one, they're okay. This one is by far the best, in my personal opinion. because of the amount of information. I just feel like witchcraft and Wicca and stuff like that is too diluted and just too complicated, and just somehow lacking that original connection that traditional Wicca, like that Gerald Gardner started, is kind of lacking. This book here kind of pulls in from some of the upcoming trends at the time within Wicca, as well as traditional learnings and teachings. So, this book, Drawing Down the Moon, and the Tao Te Ching are all three books that I like to give as gifts to people, especially if they are wanting to start down a spiritual path that connects in with Wicca, or just something that gets away from the mainstream religions of like Christianity, Catholicism, and so on and so forth. I devoted a year and a half to living the Tao Te Ching, and I coupled that along with daily Tai Chi. So I would have the Tao Te Ching playing on an audiobook, and as I'm listening to it, I would be going through the like the martial arts movements of Tai Ching, and I just felt so alive and so connected and just energized. And the Tao Te Ching is one of those books that I turn to like a Bible, and if I'm having a hard time or I just need like that pick me up, it always seems like no matter what I do, I turn directly to the page that I need help with that during that time period. But I mean, it is very difficult to read and understand, especially with our Western ways of thinking, and we tend to get just so polluted and bogged down with things that we think we know and what we think we should know, that we don't give the proper amount of focus to outside influences. Another excerpt from the book is, the Tao that can be told is not the eternal Tao. The name that can be named is not the eternal name. The innumerable is the eternal real. Naming is the origin of all particular things. Free from desire, you realize the mystery. Caught in desire, you see only the manifestations. Yet mystery and manifestation arise from the same source. This source is called darkness. Darkness within darkness, the gateway to all understanding. Now, to our Western minds, we would hear darkness within darkness and think something pure evil and negative. But in this philosophy, darkness within darkness, it's created from that darkness, that nothing, that void. So that's what it's meaning by the darkness. It doesn't necessarily mean something negative, evil, or dark, spirited, or whatever. It means the eternal void. When people see some things as beautiful, other things become ugly. When people see some things as good, other things become bad. Being and non-being create each other. Difficult and easy support each other. Long and short define each other. High and low depend on each other. Before and after follow each other. Therefore the master acts without doing anything, and teaches without saying anything. Things arise, and she lets them come. Things disappear, and she lets them go. She has but does not possess. When her work is done, she forgets it. That way it lasts forever. Now, within the Tao, or the Tao Te Ching, you will hear the master being referred to as he and she. In the literary sense, Chinese and Japanese don't have a distincting character. At least this is what it was explained, how it was explained to me. But there's no koji, or like letter symbol in the Japanese female or Japanese Chinese Orient language to denote male and female. And so, since the master can be anyone and should encompass both your male and female sides, it is saying that you, as the master, do XYZ. So, sometimes in the book it'll say she, sometimes in the book it'll say he. But, like it said here, the master acts without doing anything and teaches without saying anything. You're thinking, well, how does that work? How does that happen? What are the meat and potatoes of that? Because you can't teach something without teaching someone something. You can't do something without doing something. Well, you can. It's just a matter of how you process what is being done. I learned how to change a tire by watching someone. No one ever taught me, but I watched. So if you are mastering yourself and you are in control of your own facilities and you walk the path of the righteous or the enlightened or the spiritually awakened or the blessed or whatever you want to call it, and others watch you do these things and see how you react to your trials and tribulations and your struggle and strife and the ups and downs of life, and see how you can take a negative and transform it and find the positive in it. And that is one thing that is extremely difficult to do. I'm not saying that I'm a master by any means. I'm just saying that a lot of times we are so apt to just jump to the dark, like, oh god, my car blew up, and now I don't have a car, what the hell am I going to do? Well, what have you put out into the universe to lead up to that happening? And what was it about that happening at the time that it happened that needed to happen that way? So, say 6 or 7 months prior, you start talking about, oh, I need to start walking and exercising and doing this, that, and the other thing, but I just don't have time. So it's like work, home, work, and I just don't have that time. So your car breaks down. Now you're forced to walk to the bus and to walk to work, and that's the exercise that you've been wanting, but you haven't been able to get. That could be the positive in that negative situation. But we automatically jump to the, oh god, the inconvenience factor. Well, look at the other ripples in the pond. Is you not having a car right now keeping you safe? Is it keeping you from making a bad decision? Is it keeping you from like getting in a car wreck within the next week or two? If you look for the positive in the negative, you are always going to come out on top. And a lot of what the Tao Te Ching tries to tell you and teach you is to basically live a life without expectations. To do good for the sake of doing good without the thought of reprimandation or repayment. You want to do it's got to be a core decision. And with the way that things are today, very seldom do we find people opening their hearts and opening their wallets or, giving selflessly of themselves. You'll see people doing good as long as the spotlight is on them. A really good example of this is there is a church in Las Vegas that just recently went through and helped a bunch of needy people with food for the holidays. And so the pastor and his wife and the other congregation members dressed up like it was in their absolute Sunday best and went to these impoverished areas and into these impoverished homes and stood and took pictures of themselves giving these boxes of food and these blessings onto other people, all for the FOMO aspect or the clickbait aspect of doing the work. I feel that if you're going to do good and walk away. Don't seek out that limelight. Don't look for the attention. That's what the book is saying. The master does without doing. They do their deed and then they forget about it. That way it lasts forever. You're planting the seed of good in others. Whether or not they continue to cultivate that seed of positivity, or they let it wilt and die and become a negative eyesore, that is on the individual. But you as yourself, put out that energy, put out that intent. Do without expectation. Do without expecting reciprocation. You know, it is really hard to do because, like I said, we live in that instant gratification society. Oh, look at me. I'm doing XYZ, okay? So you're over here blah 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 into your phone talking about, oh yeah, I'm doing so good. Check me out on my Instagram, do this, that, and the other thing. Look at me put this blessing down on these people over here. Blessing others for the glory of the job is never going to pan out for you in the long run. All it's ever going to do is cause you to still feel empty because you are not giving of yourself selflessly. You are giving of yourself in hopes of selfishly obtaining praise and recognition. I've just recently started a program, or I'm trying to put together a little project program, whatever you want to call it, where I am taking anonymous donations from the community, like of toiletries and stuff like that, that I am going to start handing out to the homeless people, because here in Washington State, it's now that time of year where winter is extremely cold and the weather is colder than it normally is. And it's something that I'm feeling drawn to do, and I had talked about doing it last year, but I just was not in the right space to do so. This year, everything fell into place. I have received so many amazing donations from people. And I told them, I said, I will not say what company did this or what person has done that. All I'm going to put in the bags is a little card that says, a gift from your community to let you know that you're loved. And keep it moving. So there are other organizations in town that do stuff like that, but I don't want to attach what I'm doing to those organizations, because if I attach it to a church, then the church needs to sermon about it, and they need to have these people who are in need come into the church so that they can pray about it and do this and that and the other thing. No, that's not what it's about. People on the street and low income or down and out, whatever you want to call it, don't need to be sermoned to. They know where God is. They know where the church is. The only thing that they need are these few little utensils to help them. If I attach it to another community-based project, then all of a sudden it's like, oh, well, we have this already established, and this person over here went ahead and helped bring in donations. I don't want any religious or other organization attached to this. I want it to be done selflessly and because it's the right thing to do. And so those who need to know about my little project know about it. And I've received so many things from the community in the forms of disposable shaving razors. I was given a huge package of condoms, which is something that people don't think about as being homeless. But, you know, I'm not even going to get into that. But, and then when I go to the dollar store, I will buy tampons and Kotex and stuff like, well, tampon and Kotex are the same thing. But, you know, I'll get maxi pads and tampons and toothbrushes and deodorants and little soaps and stuff as I can, because I myself live on an extremely fixed income, as 90% of America does. And even if this video reaches outside of America, as 90% of the world does. So, whenever I go to the store and there's like 10 things that I want, I will put 5 of those 10 things back so that I could buy 5 things for my gift bags. So, today's video is just about taking time to master yourself without trying to master everyone else. Take some time to delve into a different spiritual path, or even take time to learn a different spiritual path. Being a witch, or Wiccan, or whatever title that you want to apply to yourself, is learning to be adept at all forms of spirituality, and taking on the teachings of the Tao Te Ching for me has helped me in other aspects of my life, of learning to not be so much about myself. So, sorry about that. The camera that I'm using has a 30-minute record time, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap everything up now. So, again, this is the Tao Te Ching by Stephen Mitchell. And I will try to get that better in focus. There you go. So check this book out, and if you haven't done so already, check out The Spiral Dance by Starhawk. Spiral Dance. And yeah. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please put them in the comment section down below. If you haven't done so yet, please hit the like and subscribe button, and you will be notified of whenever I upload new videos. Also, please feel free to follow me on social media. You can follow me on Instagram. It's Mr. Overon. Or not Instagram. Yeah, Instagram, I'm sorry. You can also, of course, follow me here on the YouTube channel. There's also the Mr. Overon's Tarot Reading Services on Facebook. And there is Mr. Overon at over on Twitter. Sorry, I can't think of the words right now, but so yeah, you can follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and just look for Mr. Overon. And yeah, if you need to get a hold of me or would like to have a reading, you can send me an email, mroveron@gmail.com, or go to the website, mroveron.com. Anyways, I will talk to you all. Thank you for watching, and I will talk to you all later. Bye, witches!